So very good morning, everyone. So very happy to be here. So I think it's a very brief introduction, and to reiterate, I keep saying my introduction as my name is Dr. S. Anand Reddy. I have 2 degrees, 2 PGs, 2 books I have written, and so far I have received 2 awards. And what is fortunate, what is ambitious in my life is that having 1 PhD degree which I had, having 1 wife and having 1 son. So that's all is my brief introduction, very easy to remember. And the topic that I would be presenting today, the most important, is that it's a servant leadership for present generation. So this is a topic that I would like to speak about. In the morning, in the session we have heard the next year's theme is that, any guess? Next year's theme for this World HRD? Back to future. Back to future is a theme that has been announced for the next year, and I am going to speak in similar lines of those things. So this is my name, Dr. S. Anand Reddy. I head L&D, Learning and Development Department, in a pharmaceutical company based out of Hyderabad, which is a Hetero Drugs Limited. And secondly, I am also chairman of Indian Society for Training and Development Hyderabad chapter. So these are the 2 things that I am holding, 2 things again here. And when I speak about the first one, please answer if anybody can do it. Motive of any business is to. Any guess? Making money? Create value, build profits, believe in yourself. Wonderful. Let's look at some of those business leaders, what is their motive when they started the business, or maybe what is their vision and statement. So this is our chairman, Dr. Bandi Pardasarathi Reddy. He says very simple, inspiring human belief in a healthier world, which says here our vision has been to help improve the quality of life of a people. So what he says ultimately, it is service to the people. I want to do some service to the people. So that's the ultimate intention of every business person. However, motive of making money is something different, which comes out of having service to the people. Now if you look at the next business person, Tata, if you see, building a greater future through innovation and collective knowledge. Again, it is doing some service to the people. And if you look at the next one, I say a bank, which most of us know. It also says to be the leading provider of financial services. And if you look at one more, it also says we aim to conduct our businesses ethically, and at the same time it says we believe the customer is the reason for our existence. Customer satisfaction again. Now, if you look at any business, the intention is that how is that we create or we provide a better service to the customers. Now, that is where the business comes out. The better service I provide, the better business is for me. That is why the intention, what we need to understand is that we have, every business person says, we need to do something good for the customers. Now, if you look at the business perspective as a leaders, what we need to understand, for every businessman, external customers are the people who give the money. But as a leaders, for us what is important is that it is the internal customers. Because through internal customers, we are able to get the external customers to the business. Unless if the internal customer is satisfied, never expect external customer gets satisfied through the internal customer. So that is the reason every business leader, you need to understand leadership is a position to serve external customers but through internal customers. Now this is what every leader we need to remember. We are here to do some service. What is the kind of service we need to do? We need to serve external customers through internal customers. So the priority of every leader is that to serve internal customers first. If you start serving internal customers first, automatically external customers get satisfied. Now, question to ponder for every one of us is that as the leaders, I'm sure most of us sitting here are the leaders. How often do we say of our leaders that they make our jobs much easier to do? Now, we have been hearing, we keep listening. Whenever the colleague wants to come and meet us, the first question, especially in Indian culture, we keep asking, how is boss mood today? Can I go and meet him? Is it the right time to meet? Now, when somebody is asking this question, automatically it reflects on what exactly the boss is. Now, is there a person of your colleague who can directly come into you and discuss or debate or argue whatever the point that they want at free will? Now, that shows the kind of support that you are giving. Now, that is what we are looking at. Now, today, I am just going to speak about the first one is the leadership aspect we discussed. Now, second one, I just wanted to just brief about what is this current generation, because the topic is how is this servant leadership is very important to the current generation. If you look at the current generation, what we call, it's an information generation. On a click of a button, whatever the information that you want, you will get. And I'm sure in the last presentation on the main screen he was showing, if he wanted 5 points, you got 5 points. If he wanted 45 points, you got 45 points. Now, what is the role of a leader? Once upon a time, HR or a leader is a person who said, I know the information, you all come to me, I'll guide you. But today, it's a no more. Now, if you want something, the role of a leader is changing in such a way, now you have a beautiful brains with you. How is that you bring those beautiful brains with you and bring out the synergy from those people to get your work done? That is what is the most important thing that we are speaking about. Therefore, we need to understand this is an information generation. Second one, we also need to understand this generation is a pampered generation. Now, you would look at most of the senior colleagues who are sitting here, you understand the way you have toiled when you are working, and then your intention or most of our intention is that, how is that we save some reserves for our children, especially in the Indian context if you look at. Now, what happens here? Now, this generation is no more worried about those things. Now, for them, psychological safety is already being created with the parents. Now, what are they expecting in the organizations? Can my manager create a psychological safety for me at the workplace? Now, when you create a psychological safety for the team members at the workplace, I'm sure we get a better results. Now, the third one, entrepreneurial generation. Now, you look at the people, they don't want to work in a bigger companies for a longer period. You ask any fresh graduates from MBA, you ask them, what would you like to do after some time? They say, after 4 years or 5 years, I want to start my own business. But what are you doing in the company? I am just trying to establish myself to understand. Now, look at this one. The way that we are progressing is that everybody is focusing on the business. They have a plenty of ideas. They wanted to understand the market. And the last one, if you see, quick fix solutions generations. Now, if somebody comes, like I'm sure most of the HR professionals are there, we understand some years back, whenever somebody comes for the interview, we used to make them to wait for entire day. If somebody asks you, why are you making them to wait for so long? They simply say that we are trying to test the patience of the candidate. If he cannot be patient at the interview time, how can this guy be patient at the workplace? But today, believe me, what is happening, if you are making a person to wait for half an hour or 1 hour for the interview, by the time he gets a call from the other company, he just moves out. They do not have any time, any patience to wait. Same is the case with in terms of solutions. If you are not able to give solutions for the problems that they are facing, they are very quick to move out to the other people. So, what is servant leadership? We understand. I just wanted to give you a brief. It's a synergy of bringing together the different strengths of individuals. Now, that is what every leader we are supposed to do. How do we bring different strengths of the individuals? And I'm just quoting 2 famous people. Now, you can do what I cannot do. I can do what you cannot do. Together we can do great things. That is one aim or one objective of servant leadership. Now, the second one, he says, the first and most important choice of a leader makes is the choice to serve. without which one's capacity to lead is severely limited. Robert K. Greenleaf is the founder of modern servant leadership concept. It's in 1970s. Though traditionally, if you look at historically, it started from some centuries ago. Okay, but I'm just showing now how this particular concept picked up is that from 1970s. Now, I just wanted to show you the definition, what I wanted to say. The service, what it means is that exactly a role of a mother, what we play at home. I'm sure most of us know when our children are preparing for their exams. Now, most of the mothers, they do not sleep. They facilitate the children to study better. They do not allow any kind of disturbances. They do, in case if they are falling asleep, they don't mind getting a tea or coffee for them. Now, they facilitate. Now, what exactly the service is that? Can you facilitate all the people in your team so that they perform better? That is what service is, nothing but seeing the future, engage and developing the people, and then reinvent continuously values, results, and relationships. Embody the values. Now, this is what a service which means in terms of a servant leadership. Now, if a leader can see the future, if the leader can engage and develop the people, if the leader can reinvent, if the leader has got a values, results, and relationships, and then embodies the values, then he or she becomes a servant leader. Now, this is what is the most important. It is you are facilitating so that others are taking your business forward. So, I just wanted to say another two things which is very, very important here to understand for each one of us. One is, when we say servant leader, it is the mission is to help, guide, suggest, mentor the people in terms of way of doing and then way of being. Now, this is what is the most important element that we need to understand. When we say way of doing, building a capacity, skill, and knowledge among the team members. How do you build? That's giving them the right tools. And second one is developing the frameworks and giving them to perform. And then the third one, dynamics. Now, these are the three important aspects when we speak about how is that the way of doing that we are developing and we are building. Now, the most important today in this context, what we speak about, I'm sure being a HR professionals, everybody understands what is coaching. Now, this is what we are speaking about, way of being. It's an inspiring commitment. Now, you as a leader, you as a coach, you need to inspire the commitment among the people. That's why what it says, first one is the mindset of the people. Now, how is that you inspire the mindset of the people, and then how is that you inspire their behaviors? And the last one, it is the values. Now, you look at it's a business is not something you get hook or crook. It says, can you get a value-driven business? Now, that's why it says, when you speak about a servant leader who says, the most important is that it's a way of doing and way of being. If we can do these two things, I'm sure we will be able to get the things done as much better as possible. That's why this is a calculation that I made it. This is a calculation I made it. I'm sure I'll try to justify what it is. If it's a 1 plus 1, 1 is a leader plus team is equal to, it's a less than 2. Now, what happens here? Accidental engagement. It's a fear-based approach that you have. Now, suppose if you have here 1 plus 1 is equal to 2, it's a transactional cooperation. It's a desired based. We both work together. So, that the results are equal. Now, if it's a 1 plus 1 is equal to 3, it's an intentional co-creation. It's a synergy building. But what servant leadership does is that, this is what the servant leadership does. 1 plus 1 is equal to 11. It's a partnership, a facilitative, creating a new industry itself. Now, this is possible only when we can do in terms of a being and doing the concepts what we discussed. So, I just give you one couple of examples to cite you. It's not the new concept. It has been already in the market. I'm just citing a couple of industries which are already following. We do build our pyramid a bit different. At the top of our pyramid, in terms of a priorities, are employees, delivering them to proactive customer service. So here the management comes in the least. So this is one company, Southwest Airlines, which followed this servant leadership concept. And then the other organizations, for your reference, which are already following some of the servant leadership systems in their organizations. Now, apart from that, you look at some of the individuals who followed the servant leadership qualities. One is Mahatma Gandhi, who speaks about, I suppose leadership is one time meant muscles, but today it means getting along with the people. No more showing your muscles. It's getting along with the people. Martin Luther King says, a genuine leader is not a searcher for a consensus, but a molder of consensus. Now, Mother Teresa, she says, kind words can be short but easy to speak, but their echoes are truly endless. Now, these are the three prominent people who followed the servant leadership qualities. Now, if you look at some of the individuals, I'm just giving you their names so that you understand who are the people who followed what exactly the servant leadership is that. Now, this is again going back to the roots, what we are speaking about. How is that we as a leader, can we do some service to the people? Can we do some service to our own team members? Can we do service to the internal customers so that they in turn do some service to the external customers so that they bring us business? Now, that's why I'm just ending my presentation with the last slide. If you understand, this is how the dynamics we need to understand. A leader should be great enough to be without pride. Now, if you want to be a leader, you need to be great enough to be without a pride. You need to be planned enough to be spontaneous. You need to be compassionate enough to be disciplined. You need to be right enough to say that I am wrong. You need to be serious enough to laugh. You need to be wise enough to admit that you do not know. You need to be busy enough to listen. You need to be strong enough to be open to change. And you need to be leading enough to be serving. Now, if we can do this, and these are the qualities of a servant leadership. So with this, I end my presentation, and if you want something different, do something different. Thank you very much.
I think, Dr. Reddy, that was a very insightful session on how to conduct servant leadership for the current generation, which is really a challenge. A leader needs to be more like a mother and bring together the strengths of people with different mindsets and different needs and then move forward. That's wonderful. Any questions from the audience?
Lovely presentation, very lucid, and some of them great takeaways there. I'm Puneet Mehrotra. I have a simple question that we're seeing a lot of layoffs internationally. We saw 16,000 jobs just lost at Google, and it's kind of becoming an order of the day. And while we say that motherhood, nurturing on one end, the employees today are seeing something very different from the organizations. So what's going wrong at the leadership level? What should leaders really do right now? I mean, I know we may not have all the answers here, but just your take on that.
Maybe I'll just give you my opinion and also cite an example where a leader took a different stand. Frankly speaking, when mass hiring happened after COVID or during COVID, especially in the IT companies, which has not happened in the other segments, only in IT, the mass hiring has happened. Now, today, maybe the projects got over. That could be one of the reasons I am guessing it. But however, I said I'll cite one of the examples. One of the companies, I read very recently, one of the companies, when they identified that they are shortage of the projects, now they have not removed anybody. What they have done is that they have slashed their salaries by 10% so that everybody is at the job. Now, if you understand from a perspective of an employee to do better, maybe you could follow this kind of methods. Now, the reason for losing the jobs is that my only understanding, my only evaluation is that we hired left and right without understanding and without visualizing the future because we wanted to fulfill the business of that particular day. But today when there is no business, now what are the business people are doing? Just telling us, just make them to move away from the companies. but you always have an alternative where you can look at the business in a different perspective.
Well said, well said. We can take up one more last question from the audience.
Hi, this was a really wonderful presentation, Dr. Reddy, and what I see today is that most of the leaders, you know, when they look at youngsters, they want to correct them and they want them to change according to what they have seen earlier, and they are not accepting of the fact that this generation is different. So that causes a lot of frustration with the senior people, the senior management. And what the inverted pyramid was really good. But how do we convince organizations to adopt that is what my question is.
True. To take on this particular point, I would suggest most of us, when we give a suggestions, our intention is, can we change the person? Who are we to change the persons? We need to change only the mindsets. That's why the coaching concept today is becoming vibrant. Now, coaching is previously used to be for seniors, like a CEOs or CXOs. Today, most of the organizations are implementing even for the managers. Because the coaching concept, I'm not promoting coaching, but I'm saying that is coming on a way to say that you are the person who are supposed to trigger the mindset of the person. That's all. You can't change anybody. Because today he might be with you, tomorrow he might go to some other organizations. So my understanding or my suggestion is that let us not focus on changing the persons, let us focus on enlightening the mindsets of the people. Maybe that would work out, and I'm sure this will be, as usual, most of the time it is understood by the senior management only in the later stages.
Yeah, absolutely.
In most of the cases it's true.
Thank you. Coaching is really helpful, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anand Reddy. That was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you.